Yeah, look, man, the market structure is completely different than it was from, call it 2017 to 2023. We Bitcoiners, all three of you guys and me and probably everybody listening, like we battled it out with $100 billion of shitcoin VC money trying to promote a better Bitcoin for like 6 years. And you had to meet people at the top of funnel and try to get them to buy Bitcoin instead of shitcoins. And with the launch of the ETFs, we forecast this and knew it was going to happen, and it came true. It was the ETF multiplier effect because now the top of funnel is Bitcoin. It's Bitcoin that's not as good because it's in a wrapped paper product, but it's so easy. It's in your brokerage account, and you have the loudest, best known people in the financial world, telling the truth about Bitcoin. We call them Uncle Larry, Auntie Abby, and Crazy Cousin Mike. So that's Larry Fink at BlackRock, Abby Johnson at Fidelity, and Mike Saylor over at MicroStrategy. And those three create this top of funnel where most people are now accessing Bitcoin price exposure in a brokerage account. And then once it ticks over something like 0.5% or 1% of their portfolio in Bitcoin, that's when they start to have selective attention, selective perception for Bitcoin content. And they might, come across a Lynn Alden article, or, somebody recommends Jan Pritzker's book, or sees me on CNBC, or whatever it is. And then that's when they come and check out Swan, because now they want real Bitcoin. They don't want paper Bitcoin. They want real Bitcoin.
Welcome to the 38th episode of the Story of Bitcoin podcast. Today, we are joined by Cory Klippsten, founder and CEO of Swan Bitcoin, and one of the most recognizable voices in the Bitcoin space. Cory has dedicated his work to helping people understand and acquire Bitcoin safely, with a focus on long-term education and self-custody. Beyond building Swan, he has been tireless advocate for Bitcoin's role in personal and financial sovereignty, and a sharp critic of scams and short-term speculation in the crypto industry. We are excited to dive deep into this journey, his vision for Bitcoin future, and the principle that drives his work. Hi, Cory. Nice to have you here as a guest.
Hello, Europeans. How are you guys? John, I actually don't know where you are, but it's great to see you all.
Yeah.
Today,
So you can have a guess. You can have a guess.
It looks very Dutch over there.
Yeah, it's Dutch. Yes.
Oh,
definitely.
I missed the A. It's Johan. I should have gotten that one right away.
Hi, Cory.
Hello.
Hey.
Well, let's go tilt at some windmills today and take home some prisoners.
Okay, let's go.
Today is also we are registering is the 6th of October. We just had the new all-time high, so great day for Bitcoin. Maybe we can start exactly with this topic. We had all-time high yesterday, and now today 125.8K. October has begun. It's been a great 6 days so far. What do you think we should expect in Q4, Cory?
Look, I'm looking forward to what do we call it? Momentum November, and then I think it's Bullcember is December. So, look, man, cycles aren't dead till they're actually dead, So I think my base case, I think there's over a 50% chance that we actually see some kind of big run and blow off top this calendar year, and that we don't see a price as high as that in 2026. That would be the continuation of cycles of some sort, but I think it will. Obviously, there's by definition, since it's never happened before, there's a better chance of there being a higher price in 26 than there was in 2014, 18, or 22, because it hasn't happened yet, so it might happen. But I think we should just be kind of looking at, what's the peak to trough drawdown over the next, over the 12 months ensuing whatever that bull market peak is, because, we've actually never had a drawdown less than 77%. So if we actually have a peak to trough drawdown of like 50 or 55%, which people are kind of hoping for, I mean, we should, I don't know if any of you guys can still do a cartwheel, but, we should hire somebody to do cartwheels for us. We could definitely high five. And I think that's crazy, because I think there's so many new people in the market, and they are going to freak the F out. If the price goes to like 220 and then it drops to like 100, they're going to freak out. And it's just going to be funny.
Yes, exactly. As you said, there may be maybe the cycle are lower, but if you see a drawback from an all-time high of 50-55%, very likely will not be from 140, 150. It will happen if we go really to 200, 220K.
Maybe. I don't know. I honestly wouldn't make that prognostication. You know, like we thought that you would never see a bear market low go lower than the previous bull market high, right? And you know, when we broke under 20K in late 2022, that was pretty vicious. You saw 15.5, you know, so
Yes.
the idea that we'll never, ever, ever see, I really hope we never see 68K Bitcoin again. That would be, I would love to never see that again. But can I forecast with certainty that we won't? I don't know. I don't know what kind of crazy blowups might happen in the next year. There's a lot of international geopolitical volatility. There's a lot of, you know, intra-national volatility in the US, the largest market. And a lot of people have placed their chips on the combination of, you know, Bitcoin with crypto scammers and a scamming administration. and there's inevitably going to be backlash against that at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, we will see. We will find out. As you also, I agree with you. We cannot prognosticate because 4 years ago, me, Johan, Francesco were there, and in October we were all convinced we would have gone to 100K by the end of the year, but it didn't happen. So we will see.
Yeah,
and
we will see.
You have been in Bitcoin DC. It was, I think, the first conference that happened in Washington DC. Which summary and highlights do you bring from that?
Yeah, look, so all credit to Professor Aurelian and the George Washington University team. They've started a Bitcoin Institute. They have a Bitcoin library. They're starting a Bitcoin museum. Like, they're really making a go of it. And for those who don't know, the location of George Washington University is like right there by the Potomac in the middle of the monuments and everything. So it's probably the most ridiculously advantageously placed university for something like that, just to be able to come, you know, have people that are coming and touring from all over the world and coming to see, you know, Lincoln and Jefferson and the Capitol and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, there's just going to be this place where you can also get a tour of Bitcoin. And it's not too far away from the new PubKey location in DC, which is much bigger than the New York location. So, yeah, it's interesting, man. It was, it surpassed expectations by a long shot, I think, for the people who attended. There is something magical about mid-sized Bitcoin-only conferences that are obviously just a very different breed than very large, you know, quote unquote Bitcoin conferences that are paid for by crypto scammers for the most part. So, you know, Prague and Riga and BitBlock Boom, Pacific Bitcoin, TabConf in Atlanta. And then I think, you know, this is a new one that's kind of like that, in that, you know, 800 to 1500 person range or whatever it is, where it's high signal, and you know, almost everybody you run into, you've got something in common with them because they wouldn't be there otherwise. And you can talk about Bitcoin if you want to, but you can also just, you know, bro down, or I guess sis down. Can you sister down? I don't know, whatever their version is, but like, you can just talk to anybody about kind of any topic, and, you know, you have some commonalities and it's very comfortable. Whereas, you know, I basically just wear a giant FU sign on my forehead when I'm at, you know, a Bitcoin mag conference in Vegas or something like that. Like most people, I don't want to talk to.
But what about the mix between the Treasury company kind of people and the pure Bitcoiners? Which one was the majority? And how do you envision the current and the future environment for Bitcoin Treasury company, given the massive drawdowns that especially some American one went through?
Sure. So there were obviously a lot of people interested in the Treasury theme at that conference in New York, or I'm sorry, they called it an unconference, but a couple of weeks ago in New York. That one had a lot of interested Wall Street people and more kind of financier type Bitcoiners at it. And so that was really heavy. There wasn't much of a flavor. There was obviously some conversations, and Saylor was there, and so there were conversations about Bitcoin treasury companies, but it didn't dominate the conference in any way, shape, or form. And I kind of forgot that was a topic. Of course, it was a topic, and I talked about it with Pierre on stage and things like that. But look, I mean, we'll go way deeper in that, and eager to hear you guys chop it up as soon as you want to get to that topic. As you can imagine, I have a lot of thoughts on Bitcoin treasury companies, tranching of returns of financial assets, leverage, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, let's go ahead. I mean, the sweet spot now.
Let's go. Let's do it. Anyway, but just to put a close on BTC and DC, congratulations to them. We were really glad to help out. Swan was the title sponsor, and we actually lent a good chunk of our events team to help with the production and kind of promotion and everything. And I just thought it was a really fun time. I'll definitely go next year, and I really hope that GW brings it back. And if you have any inkling of visiting the States, it's right there on the East Coast. It's going to be the easiest one to get to, and it is a really, really fun time and a cool time. And also, it's kind of cool. The Watergate Hotel kind of ended up being the conference hotel, and it's only about 2 blocks away from the Kennedy Center. And I mean, the Kennedy Center is an amazing stage. I mean, there's so much history. It's so nice. 50% of going to that conference and like the value and coolness of it is that you're inside the Kennedy Center. It's just an epic building and venue. And then you get to stay in the famous Watergate Hotel where the Nixon burglary went down back in the early 70s and why he had to resign from the presidency. And, they have little jokes about it in the rooms and stuff. And it's like, please don't steal this, stuff like that. It's really fun.
Nice. Francesco, please go ahead.
Yes. Regarding we have a lot of treasury company. We went in the hometown basically because there is a Tyson Corner there, MicroStrategy, then is one thing. Then there are many others. Also, maybe you have some plans for a treasury company, going deeper. But what do you think is the feature of a treasury company that an investor should look at, and what are the metrics that you, as a Bitcoiner, are looking into to assess whether it's a good one or it's not a good one?
Yeah. So look, I'd say at the highest level, you're looking at a difference market by market. And so the USA market, basically there was a stage from 2020 to 2023 where MicroStrategy was growing and was here and provided access in a brokerage account when people still didn't have great options to get Bitcoin price exposure. And then the ETFs launched here, and to their credit, they got to scale and made a big name for themselves and got to a point where they could start actually levering up with debt as opposed to the accretive dilution of just kind of having momentum traders believe that it deserved a large premium on their Bitcoin pile and they could keep on issuing stock. That really won't work long-term in the US anymore. It really is based on levering up, and your stock has to be high beta to Bitcoin. Outside of the US, obviously there are some markets where they're still kind of, 5 years behind or 3 years behind, and you still have that opportunity. So you have weird tax treatment in Japan where Bitcoin's taxed at 50%, but an equity is not. You have, basically most of Sweden. So our friend Sanders' company, accessing this kind of retirement insurance pool of capital where everybody can trade tax-free. And so a lot of people are doing that, and that's great. My former colleague, Guilherme, who left Swan and started Orange down in Brazil, I think they have some other kind of reason to be. And now you've got Akshay, the CEO of Bakkt, who's starting a competitor to Metaplanet in Japan. They're also starting India and one more market I'm blanking on. Do you guys remember the third one they're starting? It's like, I don't know. Let's just say it's Singapore or Thailand or something. It's Southeast Asia. Anyway, so, there are these other markets still where there are reasons to be. I think it's true of France as well for the capital B guys. Clearly it's, proven that, Smarter Web was able to reach a little bit of scale in the UK, even being on kind of the tiniest stock market that exists in that country. And, but over time, these markets will mature and they'll stop treating Bitcoin weirdly. And then you will have to become a leveraged Bitcoin equity. And your reason for being is that you are providing tranched returns to Bitcoin. You're splitting up the investment returns of Bitcoin into a lower risk, lower reward debt tranche or tranches. And then that is levering up the equity returns and making it high beta to Bitcoin. And that is the function of a leveraged Bitcoin equity, which is what any of these pure play Bitcoin treasury companies actually will be in their end state and already are in the USA. So in the USA, if you are subscale, you can't lever up, you're dead. And that's why you see consolidation happening. And, basically they have to get over the hump where they can actually issue preferreds or issue debt that actually trades, like has liquidity in the preferred. And if you can't do that, then you need to sell yourself to somebody else, or you're just going to wait it out and wait for your Bitcoin to appreciate. And there's also nothing wrong with having amassed a large pile of Bitcoin in the last year and seeing what happens there. It buys you a lot of optionality, and you're just kind of like any company that has a big pile of Bitcoin winning.
Okay, so you don't recognize any feature inside of the metrics they usually taught, like Bitcoin per share or these things. So for you, the first driver is the market where these companies are in, and this plays a big role. But that doesn't explain the big drawdown of Metaplanet in Japan. So yes, maybe in a longer time frame, but do you look still into Bitcoin per share in a creative way?
So the primary KPI and the only thing that a Bitcoin treasury company or an LBE really can control is increasing Bitcoin per share over time. And that's what they're supposed to do. That means that they're, like, literally by definition, that means they're beating the hurdle rate. It's that simple. So that's what they're supposed to do. And if you can grow that faster, you're better. And if you can grow that with less risk than the other guy, then that's better. And if you can get some value from the market based on your operating business, and the market, at some point is actually able to distinguish between the two, between, a multiple, and the market's nowhere near that right now. The retail and Wall Street, neither of them are capable of, giving value for, a medical device company and a pile of Bitcoin, or an IoT company and a pile of Bitcoin, or an e-bike company and a pile of Bitcoin, or a food media company and a pile of Bitcoin. Like, they just aren't capable of doing it. So it's really just kind of pure play Bitcoin financial services, Bitcoin asset management, Bitcoin M&A, just something in service of the treasury strategy is the only thing that's kind of valued, really. And it's actually not valued. It's just because it's synergistic and not distracting is the reason to do it that way. And it's actually not valued for more than your Bitcoin pile, really. It's just like, is your business in service of increasing Bitcoin per share as fast as possible?
Yeah, I think this is a great segue into a question about what do you think about the merger of Semler Scientific and Strive? Do you have thoughts on it, and what do you think of the deal itself?
Look, you can argue about the deal points, but it was a no-brainer for both of them. Obviously, it gets Strive to scale. It lets them start issuing preferreds as soon as the merger is closed. And Semler was not going to hit scale and couldn't attract new capital. They couldn't attract a merger partner that wanted to go under their brand. And they got blocked by their shareholders from issuing preferreds. So they were just completely stuck and needed a way out. And so, what I heard from a bunch of different people is that Nakamoto was trying to buy them and spent 2 or 3 weeks trying to structure a deal and putting a deal together to purchase Semler. And then basically at the last second, Strive and Semler started talking and came up with a deal that worked better for Semler, and so they took it.
Yeah, I heard Matt Cole talking about that. They talked, I think, to the guys of Semler Scientific on the conference. But
yeah, they literally structured the deal. They met there and then structured the deal starting on Thursday and signed it on Sunday.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure the Naka guys probably aren't happy about it, but they probably benefited from a few weeks of work on the similar side so that they were comfortable with a number and a structure that would work for them. And then, they subbed in a different acquirer.
Yeah, and what is your role in Sequence, Sequence, or is it
Sequans. You're
Swan?
right. Sequans.
Sequence. Okay.
Look, I say it the way that their founder says it.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
can argue with French people and they're like, the S is silent and it's
Yeah.
it should be
Sure.
sequon. I'm like, George says sequans. I'm rolling with that. It's fine.
All right. But is it you? Is it Cory Klippsten is investing in the company, or is it Swan? Because
no, so Swan is the strategic advisor for the Bitcoin Treasury strategy. So we help with marketing, PR, custody, liquidity, security is a big thing, and then strategy, marketing. It's kind of those 5 prongs that we help with. So I spoke with George this morning, as I often do, and they're just trying to help them navigate what this is. I mean, they have I think that the biggest pile of Bitcoin of a European company, which is pretty cool. 3250 or something like that.
Yeah. I saw that they bought today 29 Bitcoin, and they're up. They're at 3,200 or something. So and head tips to the or head off to the dashboard made by Swan, but it's a nice dashboard.
Yeah, it is a really nice one. Yeah, we thought about productizing it, but like a lot of things, you tend to do better with conferences and media being a third party, something made by a company that's kind of a competitor or an active, company in the space doesn't usually get retweeted and adopted. So we just decided to leave it for just Sequans. But yeah, there were a couple weeks there where we actually had all of the treasury companies loaded into the same format. And then we were like, you know what, let's just let BitcoinTreasuries.net do their thing and we'll just throw down with those guys. So I started appearing on their spaces and helping out over there instead.
Yeah, nice.
On companies adopting Bitcoin, we have, as Francesco pointed out, we have many Bitcoin treasury companies in the last weeks or 2-3 months. What we are missing maybe is normal companies who have operating business, normal good or service, who say we want to invest 5%, 10%, 15% of the profit in Bitcoin. Do you think they will be coming as well soon?
I mean, I don't think you're missing that at all. We have over 2,000 business customers at Swan, and I'm sure, River has a ton and Unchained has a ton. Like, this is a very normal thing that's been going on for a very, very long time. Most of them want to stay quiet and they're not trying to market something. So, that's where you see something like, Tahini's up in Canada, and they're kind of doing it because they're Bitcoin super fans and want to talk about it. And they're kind of doing it because they hope that will help their business too, right?
Okay.
So I think there've always been businesses that have bought lots of Bitcoin, and that won't go anywhere. And I think there'll be more and more public companies. Obviously, there's Figma and all the miners that hold Bitcoin. They're not leveraged Bitcoin equities, and they're not high beta to Bitcoin in that way, not because of their Bitcoin holdings, but they are. You should consider them to be those types of companies that would rather have Bitcoin on their balance sheet than cash, right?
Yes.
And I think Tesla and all these other, very few of the companies on BitcoinTreasuries.net have as their primary KPI to accumulate, increase Bitcoin per share. That's not the driving goal of almost any of those companies.
Yes.
We can just run through the list. It's like, 1 is strategy, yes. Marathon, no. 21, yes. Metaplanet, yes. BTCC, yes. Bullish, no. Riot, no. TMT, that's Trump, no. CleanSpark, no. Coinbase, no. Tesla, no. Hut 8, no. Block, no. I don't know what GDC is. Galaxy, no. Strive, yes. I don't know what Next Technology Holding. Kango, no. Kindly is Naka, yes. Semler, yes. So, it was like probably 8 of the top 20 are actually increasing Bitcoin per share, and the other 12 are not.
And that's thanks to point out. So many they are buying Bitcoin, but they're not publicly disclosing.
No, they are. Those are publicly disclosed
Yes.
Bitcoin
But
holdings. Yeah.
On your list, like for example, Riot, Blockchain, Marathon, Galaxy, they were already in crypto, and then they decide to buy Bitcoin. I think maybe normal company that they don't have anything to do with crypto or with Bitcoin, they are not mining Bitcoin, and decide to buy Bitcoin. Like when Tesla announced it 4 years ago, we don't have so many worldwide known companies doing the same, or at least publicly disclosing that.
Yeah, you're right. It's not that many. It's like Tesla and Figma, and I mean, there's more in Asia, interestingly, but there was Cooler. I'm just looking at this list real quick.
Yes.
Yeah, KULR did it. I don't know if Nano Labs, I don't know what they're trying to do. Maybe that was a wannabe treasury company. Acres in Sweden, right? So they've got 754 Bitcoins. Mercado
Okay.
Libre.
Yeah, is it known in South America?
Yeah. Yeah, but it is few and far between of the companies that are completely unrelated to Bitcoin that are holding a decent chunk of Bitcoin on their balance sheet. It's like 4.
We are still very, very early also from this, if we can see. A part of our bubble that we are living with Bitcoin companies already interested in Bitcoin. I think still very early also from that signal, I would say.
But usually, given that you have 2,000 businesses to serve with the selling of Bitcoin, usually the investors in general, I think also companies, people who are finance savvy, they want to do the risk the purchase by looking into infrastructure, no? So maybe I know you have a mining operation, it's a big one. So is the mining operation still active? Is only for Swan as an internal revenue, or do you sell portion of it to the business, or if they are interested to it, do the same dynamics which are happen in traditional finance reflect into Bitcoin? Somebody ask you 70%, maybe 30% infrastructure, anything like that.
You're talking about Swan's mining business?
Yes.
Yeah,
Is that,
we did have a very large mining business. We actually had the fastest deployment of Bitcoin hash rate in world history from summer of 23 to summer of 24. Unfortunately, last July, August, our biggest investor in mining, Tether, conspired with a couple of our executives on the mining team to steal all the IP, the business relationships, and basically poach the business and walk out the door. So that's the subject of massive international litigation in 3 jurisdictions trying to recover our losses from that. But yeah, otherwise we had a pretty good
so
run.
sorry, I forgot, but I remember now.
Yeah,
Anyway,
we haven't been in the mining business since last August. So yeah, a year clear of it. What I would say is, these mining businesses don't have end customers, right? They like their customer is the Bitcoin network, and that's where the revenue comes from. And you don't need customers. The only customers you do have are your investors, that are actually financing the big build outs. So Cypher has a bunch of customers. Their customers are the people that actually finance the build out. Same thing with Iron, same thing with, Swan as well. Like our customers were our investors.
understand. So yeah, maybe let's change topic. Let's
Yes.
go to the other.
Okay. Johan, your turn with questions on Swan and sequence.
Yes.
Yes.
I saw that Swan's revenue grew with over 100%. I don't know if that's correct information, but
Yep.
I was a user of. So first, let us know something more about Swan. But also, I use Spectre a lot, always,
Yeah.
like Sparrow and Spectre. And if I remember correctly, like Swan bought the team, the Spectre team, and they went on working for the Swan Vault software. And I saw a message like 2 weeks ago that they're more active on the project again. So I also, like, as a user or like as a fan, I would, if you want to, I would hear something about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, they were trying to raise money, I think back in 22 or something, and there was like a whole team working on an open source project, and they didn't really have any monetization, and so they they needed a home. So Moritz hit me up, and we agreed to acquire them, and they came in and kept running Spectre and kind of coordinating the open source community, and then also that same team along with Reardon. So Brandon Black, Reardon Code came on with Vijay Boyapati. So the two of those guys with the Spectre team built Swan Vault. And then once it was built, it was like, okay, yeah, I mean, we have, we need a smaller team and we have incremental improvements, and there's things that we continue to do and to build. And we actually have a couple new flavors of custody that team's building and launching, one later this year and one next year. But we just didn't need the whole team anymore. So most of them kind of spun back out, started companies, or are contributing more full-time to the open source project in general. So it has a new board. Jan, my co-founder and CTO, the best engineering leader in Bitcoin, I'd say by a long shot, is on the board of Spectre now as well, which is really cool. So it has a little continuity from our side because he has a ton of experience with it now. And it is the recovery mechanism. If Swan goes away, it is Spectre is how you would go and, get your coins out of Swan Vault and things like that. So we have a continued interest in making sure that it's funded and well run and getting contributions and such. So yeah, it's exciting time to have it. I think there were probably people that were upset that we acquired the company, but I have to explain like it was going to go under if we didn't. And now it exists and can go forth and flourish. And, what we got out of it is we got a wonderful collaborative custody product that is growing super fast and people absolutely love it.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that sounds like a win-win situation to me. So also for the audience, I think what Cory is alluding to with Spectre, like I think that's the sovereign recovery part. Like if you have a wallet at Swan and Swan isn't their servers, the servers are not responding or anything, you don't lose your Bitcoin. You
or
can
if
use
something goes like just horribly wrong at like the custody team, camping trip up in the Cascades or something.
You can always access your Bitcoin through the sovereign recovery, and that's great.
Curious. Go ahead.
Yeah, maybe some more on Swan. Like, what are the plans? Please tell us about the growth and the roadmap.
Yeah, so I mean, it's been an incredible year after the retrench. I mean, we had 185 employees at the time of the theft, and then I think we went down. So the mining team left, and then we had to let go of like 90 people over the next month or so. And then some more people left just to, because it seemed uncertain and you had to like fight your way out of it. So I think at one point we got down to 72 people. And then, we benefited from the rise of actually useful AI at the same time. So we basically had all our 10x people still here across every function. And then they all started using AI. And so now financial services, as you mentioned, has doubled the revenue year over year, but I think we're up to maybe like 86, 87 people. Like we just haven't had to hire back that fast because people are so much more productive and getting so much more done with AI across all the different functions. And again, like Jan is a genius and everything is like coded and QA'd and tested, with AI. And then we have Philip, that used to be at Bitcoin Magazine. He's been running media for a couple of years, and all of marketing and media is AI enabled over here too. So it's just a super productive team. And then I think the other biggest thing that's changed is we focused a lot more on recurring revenue. So recurring revenue as a percentage of total went from like probably 12% a year ago to over 40% today. So it's just much more forecastable and solid, and bear markets are much more easily survivable when you kind of know that you have revenue coming in. And then, I guess broadly, just for anybody that doesn't know anything about Swan, and this may be more relevant for your audience than ever because we actually just announced Swan International last week. So So it's interesting. In most of these countries, we have to rely on reverse solicitation, which means we can't advertise in market, but if you get in touch with us, we can serve you. And so just go to swan.com/international and check to see if we serve your country and get in touch with us. But I can't go and, throw events in most of these countries, which is a weird place to be. We do intend to go get licensed, with FSA and MiCA and, whatever they call it, VASP, GASP, whatever, in UAE, stuff like that. But there's a bunch of countries that we now serve, which is super exciting. Anyway, so Swan, I would say the best way to think about us is we're the Bitcoin wealth platform for leaders of families and businesses. So it's people that are like really into Bitcoin and probably have decent amount of resources and actually value having a team, having a Bitcoin guy, having a Bitcoin gal, and having, you know, the best customer service and sales team in the business, the first and best. And yeah, that's who tends to like to work with us. And it's a lot of different products and services. So I think an analogy that's often used for us, it's kind of like what Fidelity or Schwab have done in the equity space over the last 50 years. That's what we're doing for Bitcoin. So it's obviously brokerage and limit orders and, you know, savings plans, asset-backed loans, inheritance, trust, 3 flavors of custody, you know, and just kind of on and on and on, and all the things that you'll ever need to do as a Bitcoin investor and related to serving those needs. You know, that's what we do. But the service model, because we're so early in the adoption of the asset class and people have so many questions, is much more like private client services or private wealth management, you know, kind of what you would see out of like a, you know, a Goldman Sachs or a Morgan Stanley private client group. And so everybody gets someone to actually talk to, and you can do Zooms and WhatsApp and text and call anytime. And then that's really good for referrals, because those people get used to having a Bitcoin guy, and they kind of use that as a card in their hip pocket to be able to pass through their network. And it's just a very good model for where the market is today.
How do you see the growth of the users in terms of buyers comparing to the 2021 cycle? Because now we have ETF. Does that have an impact, or these are new buyers? So do you see slowing down because of ETF, or what the metrics telling you?
Yeah, look, man, the market structure is completely different than it was from, call it 2017 to 2023. We Bitcoiners, all 3 of you guys and me and probably everybody listening, like, we battled it out with $100 billion of shitcoin VC money trying to promote a better Bitcoin for like 6 years. And you had to meet people at the top of funnel and try to get them to buy Bitcoin instead of shitcoins. And with the launch of the ETFs, we forecast this and knew it was going to happen, and it came true. It was the ETF multiplier effect, because now the top of funnel is Bitcoin. It's Bitcoin that's not as good because it's in a wrapped paper product, but it's so easy. It's in your brokerage account, and you have the loudest, best known people in the financial world, you know, telling the truth about Bitcoin. You know, we call them Uncle Larry, Auntie Abby, and Crazy Cousin Mike. So that's Larry Fink at BlackRock, Abby Johnson at Fidelity, and Mike Saylor over at MicroStrategy. And, you know, those 3 create this top of funnel where most people are now accessing Bitcoin price exposure in a brokerage account. And then once it ticks over something like 0.5% or 1% of their portfolio in Bitcoin, that's when they start to have selective attention, selective perception for Bitcoin content. And they might, you know, come across a Lynn Alden article, or, you know, somebody recommends Jan Pritzker's book, or sees me on CNBC, or whatever it is. And then that's when they come and check out Swann, because now they want real Bitcoin. They don't want paper Bitcoin. They want real Bitcoin, because they're going deep and they're getting orange pilled, and, you know, they're picking up the sovereign individual, and all of a sudden it's F the Fed, and, you know, they're going 80% Bitcoin. and they're calling Johan to get some tips on Spectre, you know?
Yeah, I love the meme. We're talking about memes once in a while, and I love the meme of Leonardo DiCaprio from the Wolf of Wall Street going into the Revenant guy. You know,
Yep.
Start there, and
yeah,
then
100%.
you know, let's go.
Yep. Yeah, this is the. I'll bring this up. This is the slide I use. I don't know if I can. I can probably project, right?
Yes.
Yeah, let me see. Screen. There we go. Yeah, this is the slide. It's just kind of like the timeline, but this is something I tweeted at the beginning of 2024, like right after the ETFs launched. Maybe I can even zoom in on it a little bit and move it up. But, you know, this is like everything changed with the launch of the Bitcoin ETFs. Originally, the top of funnel for Bitcoin was Bitcoin from like 2010 to 2016. And then there was 6 years of battling it out with the crypto scammers. And then they lost. And now it's Bitcoin and crypto, or Bitcoin not crypto, in the minds of the media, the markets, legislators, investors. And now the top of the funnel for Bitcoin is Bitcoin. It's just paper Bitcoin, but we can get people out of that and into the real thing much easier than losing people for like 3 or 4 years because of all that altcoin marketing spend with the crypto scammers.
Thanks for sharing. Yes. On this also, a personal note, in 2000, I went deep in the rabbit hole. Was 2021-22. Before I had mostly Bitcoin, but also crypto. And listening also to you, to your interviews, made me also think that Bitcoin was so different from crypto. So at that time it was hard for many, also because there was a all season and it was not so much material. So also thanks to you for advocate that Bitcoin is not crypto. Also, you continue to say to discuss about Ethereum and the rest, how it's different, and everything is trending to zero. I remember you pointed out that only two altcoin they made a second all-time high versus Bitcoin, right?
Yep.
So
yeah,
at the end, everything is trending to Bitcoin.
Yep. I ran the numbers a few times, and then we finally did like a really intense analysis of it and posted it probably in 2021. I think it was me and Sam Callahan. And he just took a new job. Oh, he took a job with Guilherme, my former CRO. So Sam is working at Orange now. So we should be seeing a lot more of his research again, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
Swan Alumni Network strong. But yeah, we ran the numbers, and out of all altcoins, there were only two that ever had a second all-time high in Bitcoin terms after the first pump. It was Ripple was a little higher in Bitcoin terms in 17 than it was in 2013. And then Dogecoin got pumped by Elon in 21 and was slightly higher in Bitcoin terms than it was at its 2017 peak. And of course, both of them are down more than 80% in Bitcoin terms since that second peak. So, this whole idea that the altcoiners try to push of oscillators, they only oscillate around a down-term trend.
Yes.
They don't. You can't actually hold any of them long-term for any reason. You can trade them because they're volatile, and of course, assets move up and down in Bitcoin terms. And so, if you think you have an edge and you have 6 screens and you're not a click trader, remember, all good traders that actually make money make fun of people who actually touch a mouse button or a keyboard. They call them click traders, and that's who they take the money from. So if you think that you are a trader, but you actually use your hands to place trades and you aren't using like AI-enabled algorithms to do your trading for you, you are getting your face ripped off, even if you got lucky last week. You will fucking get your face ripped off by real traders. So hodl, don't trade. The best thing you can do for your psychology as a human with our limited lizard brains and high emotionality is not chase shiny objects and don't get scared when there's panic in the streets. And the only way to do that is, once you have established, because you got off zero and you need to have some in your portfolio, like whatever that level of conviction is, from then on, it should just be a savings plan, automatic recurring purchases every damn day. Pet your dog, spend some time playing with your kids,
Yes.
Play some basketball or run or do CrossFit or whatever your physical activity is. Get out in the sun in the morning and make sure that automatically buy Bitcoin every damn day.
Great.
It's a good life. It's a very good life. Like, you would think I have like high stress given what I do and, trying to, go and recover damages from the most profitable company in the history of the world part-time. But, as long as you're doing those things and taking care of yourself and, Bitcoin is part of it, like you can do okay.
It's interesting how important the study on Bitcoin is, because once you study, then you reach a good understanding of Bitcoin. Then by just holding Bitcoin and doing what you said, you can touch grass, go playing with the kids, tennis, basketball. We outperform year over year by far 99.9% maybe of all financial advice or TradFi investors, and it will continue to be like that likely.
Yes, I mean, movements are quick, and that's where the traders get beaten because you have emotions, you have movements which are quick, and then there's nothing you can do. That was a famous slide of Sailor, which was explaining the reason why. So if you are smart enough, people will learn. But just a few seconds to remind to our listeners that this podcast is brought to you by Bitvault. Bitvault is the first wallet solution to solve the problem of physical attacks and hacks, thanks to our innovative time delay over multi-sig technology. So basically means crypto wallet that enable you to time lock the whole wallet and all UTX of your coins, and effectively enabling a protective time delay for your holdings. I invite you to head over to the bitvault.sv website and secure one of our early deals for just under $99 forever. I would have another question, which is regarding the state of adoption in Bitcoin. If you think that the state of adoption is somewhat correlated still after many years to the development, to the advancements in technology. So what roles do startup could play right now in the future? Are you looking to startup as a bridge with financialization, the asset, or staying pure Bitcoin, or some lending or other kind of what was the old DeFi, I mean, in Bitcoin, but maybe done in a safer way, with them emerging on the layer 2, does this play a role? And if you are still a partner, I don't know, of El Zonte Capital, are you looking into any kind of startup?
Partner with what?
El Zonte Capital, no?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it still exists, but basically just managing the current portfolio. We haven't done a new investment.
Okay.
That's myself and Max Kaiser and Stacy Herbert are the GPs. But yeah, we haven't done a new investment there. I've just been so busy, man. I think we only did one investment out of Bitcoiner Ventures, which was the first ever Bitcoin only venture fund that started in January of 2020. So that was me and Lavera and Louis Liu from Mimesis and Jan are the partners there. I don't know. I think we ended up with like 12 investments out of that, but we haven't done one there in a year either. Just super busy. The only new thing that I've taken on personally in a long time was Arc Labs. So I started advising them over a year ago because, I mean, it's the real thing. I met Barack when he invented it and was first working on it. My wife's Turkish, so I met up with him in Turkey and liked what they were working. Obviously, it didn't work out with the first iteration of that company, and he kind of left and is doing other things. But through that, I met Tiero, and I love how they kind of rescued it and turned it into something awesome. Arcade is sick. I may disagree with some things with Alex Bergeron here and there, but I mean, I've been a huge fan of most of his takes historically, and I think he's the perfect kind of translator for what Arc is doing. So it's an awesome team. They crushed it in Riga without anybody even knowing that it was them handling all the transactions. And I think we're probably in their deck as like the first eventual reference client as an ASP. I want Swan at some point to be an ARC service provider. I just think, just Bitcoin as MOE and for payments is something that's not needed in the West for quite some time. And I think it's going to require a much higher Bitcoin price. So, I think it's probably at least $2 million a coin for Bitcoin before you really start to see a lot of entrepreneurial energy actually solving real problems for Bitcoin as MOE. And until then, it's basically just hobbyists. So, people always talk about, where are we in internet rollout terms, like where is Bitcoin? And the crypto people always try to say, we're in 2003 or something. Really, we're in like 1993, like the ETFs, or probably 94. So the ETFs were basically that was like the Netscape moment. So 2024 was like 1993. And Bitcoin as MOE right now is basically in the homebrew computer stage. So it's late 70s right now for Bitcoin as MOE. It's hobbyists and zealots and a very few people that actually have a real need. And amazingly, there are great tools for that because people are so excited about Bitcoin. Like the tooling is insane for dissidents and people that really have a need to move cross borders or send money. I mean, the network itself already works like that without tooling to be able to send, like I can pay contractors all over the world just using the Bitcoin network without needing a wallet or anything else. So it's interesting. So I just place little small bets personally and just kind of same thing. I encourage the Swan team to help out with MOE projects just in case I'm wrong and it happens faster. But my base case for when MLE takes off in the US is like 2035.
Yeah, you also publish a very nice chart saying now is the decade for store of value, and once we have a global store of value, then it starts the minute of exchange.
Yep.
I see also in the Bitcoin community it was more a debated topic 1, 2, or 3 years ago, and now we are more like the whole community is more leaning that is mostly store of value. Also because at least in the West world, a part of volatility there could be a problem, taxes and so on, but we don't have a real problem for medium of exchange. With Visa, MasterCard, Apple Pay, PayPal, we can have all, even if the bank is closed, we can have 24/7 medium of exchange service.
Yeah. I think the real need in the West that Bitcoin can help with, and that's why, even just missing the last 6 months, you wouldn't even realize this, but the launch of Stretch by MicroStrategy and essentially having a high yield, low risk money market account at 10% is just nuts. It's inconceivable. And it's the most senior security in their stack, which means that it actually has the first claim on the entire stack of Bitcoin, above the other three prefs, above their converts, above the stock itself. So whatever they sell of STRC is protected by the entire Bitcoin stack. So that shit is like better than that's actually, I don't know. I don't know if I should say that, but like, to me, I personally, not financial advice, I personally think that that's less risky than my money market account at a bank.
Yeah.
But it's in a
Because it's
security
backed by
form, which means
Bitcoin.
it's accessible. And yeah, I mean, I don't actually don't own any because I don't have any fiat to store because it just gets swept into Bitcoin whenever I have any. But if I did, I would keep basically all my cash in STRC. That's literally where I would keep my cash.
I do think it's beneath Strive though, because Strive would be the crown jewel. I think Strive is above STRC, but STRC is second in the capital stack.
You like STRF is actually senior to STRC,
Yeah.
is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's, I mean, how much have they sold of that? Like $1 billion?
Not 1.2 billion. Yeah.
1.2 billion. So there's 1.2 billion out of the 78 billion Bitcoin pile that's senior to your Stretch holdings.
Yeah. Also, Jeff Park mentioned like even Stride. He said like, and I write for the Bitcoin layer, and I this is a topic I write a lot about it. So, but I did the math. Like, if the convertible debt is gone, Bitcoin could go down 75%, and there's still enough value for all the prefs. And Jeff Park also mentioned like it's almost one and at the same the risk of Stride or Strike, or there's so much Bitcoin, it's almost the same trade.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. And yeah,
the engineering that is yet to come is nuts because you have a whole team now that's cross-pollinated with MicroStrategy, working together and talking to each other, daily in many cases, but definitely weekly at Strive. And then you have Jeff Park, who's probably like the smartest of all as far as like financial engineering and understand asset management, financial markets, whatever. I mean, I was you guys probably know I'm not the biggest fan of Pompliano, and so I was super bearish on that. And then he like had the coup of the century, getting Jeff to come over there, and now that's like it's definitely going to win just because of Jeff. So I think there's. And by the way, I've spent a lot of time with Ryan Lane and his team at Empery, and like they're studs. They know exactly what they're doing. Like they will probably figure this out and make a massive company over time. I mean, the guy's been running a hedge fund for like 15 years with 22% annualized returns. He's paid out billions of dollars to his LPs over the years. He raised that $500 million in like 2 weeks just from his friends. It wasn't one of these hot treasury deals. He liked the space. He's a Bitcoin nut, and he has a great team, and like they raise money from people that know them and trust them. And, so I think there's some pretty strong players here. And just because there was MNAV compression, because, basically the shats came in and pooped in the pool. The shitcoin asset treasury companies, basically ruined it, as they always do. It doesn't mean that this won't come back with a fucking vengeance, and that these companies that are run by smart people, each of them individually will figure out how to get big.
Yeah. I heard Sailor also mention like people could do arbitrage trades also with stretch. I mean, in different countries, you can just like Japan, MetaPlanet could wait before they can issue their own preferreds, but they can just buy stretch and just give 5% and just arb it out. Look, I mean, you can just go. 126. Yes, let's go,
guys. Forever, for the rest of our lives. Hold on, I got to take a screenshot here. Hold on.
And the gold. And I'm still waiting for gold to level off or break down. That's when we go to under 30 and under 40, under 50. The gold went up. So it's just growing alongside NASDAQ now. But when gold start to go down, then we're going to see going to the roof, in my opinion.
We have Cory Klippsten here live.
We should do another one soon. Yeah. So we're also lucky that.
I just tweeted it out. I just said, I remember who I was with when Bitcoin hit 126K. It was you guys. Yeah. That was fun.
Me too.
I'm 3 minutes late to another show. I'm going to go do. Sure. It's the new guy, Charles, the Harvard kid, black dude. I met him in New York. He's super sharp. He's been having great guests. So I'm going to go and do his show for the first time.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for the participation. Always great to talk to you, Cory. Thanks for all your insights.
Good work. All right. Thanks. Say hi to Nick for me, Johan. He's a homie here in LA.
All right, cool.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.